Hey everyone, welcome back to White Sparrow Living, Luke 12:6. I'm Wendy, and if you've been watching this channel for any amount of time, you know that I am definitely not the chef of our home. That is Michael J's area of expertise. So today we're going to show you how you can make some pretty amazing dishes for your Christmas dinner or party with little or no baking skills required. So let's get started. So I'm going to start with the easiest peasiest of all, and Michael J's going to cut up some tomatoes, and I have my sliced mozzarella. It's already sliced, so there's no work to do here except open the package. And you do want to find some Roma tomatoes or whatever tomatoes you're getting that are kind of the same size as your mozzarella, because those are already sliced and you don't have a lot of choices on that. So I'm just going to pull these apart and start laying them out in the shape of a candy cane and just alternate my mozzarella with my tomatoes and get that all super cute there. And then I'm going to take some basil that we have been growing and it's been doing pretty well. I'm just going to tuck that in between one of my mozzarella and tomato slices so that it looks like a little bit of garnish. And then we have a ready bake baguette that Michael J got, and so you just pop that in the oven. So you can just slice that up and add that to your cutting board. We put some balsamic vinegar into a little bowl and then put that onto the cutting board as well. Put some salt and pepper on there just for some cuteness, and it is done. So this is just a super sweet way to bring some Christmas onto your table. And if you're going to someone's house, it'll look like you spent a lot of time and effort on this. Maybe not a lot of time, but it's still super sweet and it'll be so cute on the Christmas table. For this next appetizer, we're going to be using an oval tray. And then from Dollar Tree, I have these acrylic little bowls or dishes. You can use any round size, but these just happen to fit perfectly right down the middle of our tray. So to save time, you can always purchase the bags of cut up veggies, but we didn't have any cauliflower, so Michael J cut those up for us. Now to fill our little dishes, we're going to be using some onion dip, some ranch dressing, and what was the third one? Oh, my mom's famous Ortega dip. Ortega chili dip. So first we're going to start with some sour cream, and then in a separate bowl we're going to mix together 8 ounces of the sour cream. This is a 16-ounce container, so obviously we're going to do it in half. We like to eyeball. So we're going to take some green chilies right here. We call it Ortega, but this is off-brand because it's a little bit cheaper. So we're going to put, how much is this? What size is that?
4 ounces.
So 4 ounces for every 8 ounces of sour cream. And we're going to drain those chilies, but leave a little bit of the juice for some flavoring in our sour cream. So we're just going to add some garlic salt, and then some pepper. And this is just to taste. The garlic salt is already salty, so Michael J doesn't like me to add any additional salt, and I probably shouldn't, but I did. And just mix that together. So good. And then we're going to take that one and add it to one of our dishes. So we also made some ranch dip and some onion dip, and I figured that's just adding, the packages, so you don't really need to see me make that. And I'm just going to add all 3 of those to our little bowls. And I'm using dips that are white because, as you can see, we're going to be making a little snowman here. And then we're just going to start adding our veggies. So I have some black olives. We have our cut up cauliflower, and then some cherry tomatoes. I have some sliced carrots. And while I was putting these down, I noticed, wait, this one looks like a nose. It could be a nose. So we're going to stick him into the top dip, and that's going to be Frosty's little carrot nose. And then I have some previously cut packaged broccoli, and then some green olives that Michael J washed and dried. And then I took a purple onion, and I'm going to cut that down so that it kind of resembles his little top hat. And then I'm just going to take an olive and make his little buttons and his eyes. And then I put some sprigs of rosemary in as his arms. I'm going to make those a little bit bigger when I put it out. But anyway, then I took some more of that purple onion and made him a little scarf just by tearing it apart, and then added some basil to his little top hat, and he's done. So for those of us that are not bakers, are not cookers, these puff pastries are a game changer. We just want to thaw these out for about 20-30 minutes so that they're nice and pliable. You can see when they're frozen, they don't want to move very much. So once they're thawed out, they are nice and pliable, and this was really a fun one to make. So I'm just going to roll this out onto some parchment paper, and then I use my rolling pin to flatten this out and make it a little bit larger. And then I'm going to take some cream cheese, one package of this, and kind of let that get to be about room temperature so it's easy to spread. And I'm just going to spread that out over my entire piece of dough. Now, I'm a big fan of smoked salmon, and this is the kind that I use, but you could easily substitute this for pepperoni or salami if you don't like salmon. But for this one, we're using the salmon, and I'm just going to put this onto the cream cheese, and then I took some chives and I'm going to spread that out as well. And then I'll place my top piece of my dough onto all of that goodness inside. And then I'm going to kind of just stretch it out so that it fits and is the same size as the bottom. Then I'm going to take my pizza cutter and start cutting out strips all the way down across my dough. And I should qualify my last statement when I said non-cookers, non-bakers. I am a non-cooker, non-baker, but not because I can't cook or bake. It's because I really don't like it. So that was not my calling. So I am not a fan of it, but our kids are, all of them. They get that from their dad and their grandma. So now we're going to take some butter and put some seasoning in there and melt that down for when we're done, because now we're going to take our little strips and fold those over back and forth and make them into little trees. And I'm using these dowels or skewers. I got those at Walmart. So you can use anything for this, but I'm just going to poke that into the top of the tree and then pull it down and kind of spread them apart. And you can see that I'm going a little bit larger at the bottom and smaller at the top so that they resemble Christmas trees. And I'm going to let a little bit hang out at the very top because we're going to be putting our stars on top of those as well. And once we have our Christmas trees done, I'm going to take my melted butter and a brush and just drip those with some yummy butter. And that's going to make them a little bit more golden brown. And I did that on the front and the backs of our trees. So now we're going to put them all onto a cookie sheet and place them in the oven and just follow the directions of the puff pastry. And I believe this was at 400 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes. And the puff pastry kind of just, well, it puffs up. And so they're adorable little puffy trees. And then again, you can't have too much butter. Well, you know, my doctor says I can. But anyway, I'm going to put some more butter on those just to give them that pretty glistening look. And then I just added some more pepper to the top. So now I'm going to take some this is cheddar cheese, and I'm going to have Michael J cut those down. And then I took a star cookie cutter, make that star, and place that onto the top. I wanted to show you him doing this. His fingers were a little bit too big to get into the little corners of my stars, so it took a little more time for him. But he was such a help with all of these projects. But here they are all done, and I think these are adorable. You saw how easy that was. And again, something to add to your Christmas table to make it merry and bright. Okay, so now we're going to be using, what kind of cucumber?
English.
This is an English cucumber. You can see it's super, super long. So what we're going to do is Michael J is going to take, what is this called?
It's a peeler.
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 Or potato peeler, huh?
Peeler, yeah.
But I guess we're not cutting potatoes. So you're going to take this and slice those up. So he's going to peel some of that skin off, but leave a little bit of the dark color because that's going to be the edges of our trees. So when he's doing this, he's going all the way down. Now, I would have liked to have had them a little bit thicker. So if you can do this with a knife or a mandolin, that would be better. So now we're going to take some string cheese, and these are going to be for the tree trunks. And we're just going to cut those in about thirds. You see how precise he likes to be, which is a good thing, but maybe not. Anyway, and then I'm going to take a dowel. We're going to put that little string cheese on there, and then we have some more cheddar cheese. Because these were so thin, they wanted to kind of hang down or, droop, and I don't want droopy trees. So that yellow piece of cheese is going to be what kind of holds it up and straight across at the bottom. So I'm going to add 2 of those and do the same thing that we did in our last dish and just go back and forth, zigzag that, and then spread them out so that they look like trees. Now we had these little mini mozzarella balls, but they weren't really balls. They were more of like, I don't know, teardrops or wadded up pieces of paper. So if you can find really round mozzarella balls, that'd be even better. But I didn't think it was that bad. It kind of made you think that it was a little bit of a star. So I'm just going to do those on all of these. And it took just 1 cucumber. But I think these are the perfect little finger foods or hors d'oeuvres that you can just pick up with leaving a little bit of that dowel at the bottom again. But you see how cute the ones are with that green on the ends? We get better at doing these as we would go along. So I think if you do as I say and not as I do, you guys will get the best outcome for such a simple idea. Again, making it look like you spent a lot of time and effort on these, but if I can do it, anybody can do it. So apparently I didn't hit record when we started this project, or I guess dish, and we're using a stack of Pillsbury Grands biscuits. You can see the little stack right there. And so I would have shown you the package, but anyway, the biscuits, the Grands, and these are the nice fluffy ones. And so all we're doing is we're taking some more of that string cheese, chopping that up into little bits, and then when we get to the biscuits, we're going to cut those in quarters. So once in half and then in half again. And so you'll see that here in a second. And then we're just going to take that cheese and put it in the center of that dough and then make a little ball out of that, and just by, rolling it up in between your hands and then setting it out in the shape of a tree. So I was kind of in charge of the tree. I first had Michael J. spray it down. It's on parchment paper again and on the cookie sheet. And then for the tree trunk, I'm just going to make one a little bit longer and a bigger piece of cheese. And then he made a little egg wash by just putting in some egg, and we're going to brush that onto the whole tree, which kind of messed up my tree, but I'm going to put that back again. And then we added some more seasoning and yumminess onto the tree, and then we had a little bit extra, so he ended up baking those for himself too. So again, we're going to put these into the oven according to the package directions. And then once they were done, oh, look how pretty this is. And I'm going to slide this onto a cutting board, and then we're going to add some marinara sauce. And then to garnish it, I'm just going to put some basil on the side with some rosemary, add some rosemary to the bottom. And these you can just get in the veggie section at your grocery store. I'm assuming that's where ours are. And then it's all done. But look how pretty this turned out. And so it's just a pull apart thing where you just take the round part, pull it apart, and it's such a pretty addition to your Christmas buffet. Okay, so this is my very favorite one of all time. So I'm going to take this 18-inch styrofoam tree. This is from Michael's, and it was $8.99. I'm going to take off the sticker, but I'm not going to take off the plastic. I am going to cut it down where it's got some bumpity bumps where it comes together, especially on the bottom, because those are kind of hard and it makes it wibble wobble on the table. So I'm just going to cut those down, but keep all of that on there. And then I'm going to add some extra protection by adding some plastic wrap all the way up my cone. So I'm going to take a whole bunch of different cheeses and grapes and olives and basil and all kinds of fun stuff here, salami, pepperoni. And then I'm also going to take some toothpicks, and I'm going to need a lot of these. So Michael J. is going to wash and dry my grapes and get those all nice and clean. And so I could just take this whole cutting board by itself the way it is. So I've got some Asiago cheese here, some smoked cheddar, some semi-soft Jarlsberg, some smoked Gruyere, or however you say that, some brie, some pepperoni, and some salami. And then I've got some cherry tomatoes and some green grapes. I'm also going to use some purple grapes. And then I've got black and green olives. And then fresh herbs, I've got some rosemary and some basil. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut all of my cheeses down into cubes, and I'm going to try and make them about the same size, but I'll also need some smaller ones. So when you get to the ends and it's not exactly the same, that's okay, because you can use those as fillers to make sure that we fill up the entire tree. Now, this was a lot of work and a little bit time consuming, but it is so worth it in the end. And then when I get to the brie, you can see I'm just gonna go in a crisscross pattern, and those rounded edges are gonna come in handy too, to also fill in some of those gaps. And I'm noticing that throughout this entire video, you're gonna see some pieces disappear because they are being popped in my mouth. So I'm starting off with my cherry tomatoes, and I'm sticking my toothpick to where you'll see some on one side and on the other, so that you have a place to actually pull it out when you're eating from the tree. And then the other half will be used to stick into the styrofoam. So my cherry tomatoes are going to be wrapped around the entire tree, but this is going to kind of set the whole stage for the rest of the tree. So this is the one that you want to make pretty perfect, or, you know, nicely even and spaced out right, so that it swirls around up to the top of the Christmas tree. Now, Michael J was even saying that before you put the saran wrap on, maybe you could do the swirl with a pen or something so that you get it right on the mark. But even doing it by eyeballing it, I got a pretty good swirl and it looks pretty even, and I can't wait for you guys to see how this turns out. So after I get all of my cherry tomatoes in there, I'm going to take my brie pieces and different pieces of cheese, and I'm just going to start poking those onto there and going right up against my cherry tomatoes. And then I did a row of green olives. And then for my pepperoni, and these are a little bit larger than, you know, the little pizza pepperonis, but they're nice and soft. And so I'm just going to fold those in half and then in half again. So you've got them quartered. And then your toothpick is going to go towards the bottom point at an angle. That way, when you put it onto your styrofoam, it's going to kind of point upwards and look so pretty, like flowers or some kind of pretty design. Then I'm going to add my green grapes, and you can kind of tell it's going to start getting a little bit heavy. So you could put this on a Lazy Susan to make things easier for you. Now, as you start going down and things are getting filled up, you're going to find some areas where you have to start a little bit lower, because obviously the top is a lot thinner than the bottom. So you'll start just wherever it finally comes together. So in between my two cheeses, you know, I had to start like a third of the way down where I could actually fit a purple grape in there, and just keep doing that all the way down. You see what I'm saying though, right? It's not going to start at the very top. You'll be starting a little bit lower. So with all of that cheese that you saw me start with at the very beginning, this is all the cheese I had left. Now, there may have been a few pieces that I did eat, and maybe some salami and stuff. But anyway, look how pretty this is once it's all full. So then at the very top, I'm going to take my rosemary sprigs and just poke those into that styrofoam. And then every now and then I'm going to take some basil and just push a little piece in between. There weren't many spaces that were showing, so this is just more for the coloring, more than covering up any pieces or open areas. And then I'm going to take my whole piece and put it on top of my really pretty red and white transferware plate. These are our actual dinner plates, but I think it's so pretty for the Christmas season. And I'm using a flat plate because it's so tall, you don't need to raise it at all. And here it is all finished, and I just think this came out so pretty and just beautiful. If you were to take this to a buffet, oh my goodness, this will be the hit of the party. I love how this turned out, and I hope you guys like it too. So now it's time to start with our sweet treats, and we're going to do the same thing with this tree, also from Michael's, and I think it's like a 9-inch cone. So I bought some donut holes. For this one, you're going to stick the toothpick in first and then cover it with the little donut hole. Now, if you're a baker, you can make these and it would be, oh, so much better, I'm sure. But this is just the way this non-baking mama does it so that I don't have to worry about the whole baking part. And if it's a last minute trip or you forgot to do something for your work party, this is such an easy way to make something special, have it look good, but also you know everybody's going to enjoy these. So I'm just going to take these and start popping them onto my styrofoam cone. And then before it got real heavy, like I learned with my other one, I'm going to put this on a little cake plate. And then I'm just going to alternate the different colored donut holes here. You could do it where they're all the same color. I actually ran out of this same kind. It's going to take 2 of these cartons of donut holes, and the second one was only brown, but we're going to cover it all up with some powdered sugar anyway, so it's going to look really, really pretty. So I'm going to go all the way up my styrofoam tree. And then once it's completely covered, I'm going to take some candied pecans and put them right into the little gaps in between. So you will be seeing some of that styrofoam peeking through because these are round. So I just popped those inside of there, put some around at the bottom and then around the top so that none of that or very little of the styrofoam is showing. And then once I get it all completely covered, I'm going to go back in with my powdered sugar and a sifter and just let that snow fall all over it and around the edge of my cake plate, and it's done. And here it is all finished, and I think this is so pretty. It looks like a super high-end dish and makes such an impact. It's so pretty for a Christmas table. I love how this turned out with no baking whatsoever, and I hope you guys like it too. For this next one, again, I'm using some store-bought cookies, ready-made, so there's no baking involved. I'm using some marshmallows and then some powdered sugar. And then I'm also going to be using some icing already made, some black and some orange. I have them upside down, but the tips are at the other side. So now when I was younger, I remember my grandma used to make this all the time. It was just the powdered sugar and water. You'll put your powdered sugar into your measuring cup or something that you can pour it out with, and then just gradually add your water until you get it to the right consistency. So then I'm going to take my marshmallows and cut them down using my kitchen scissors, and I'm just going to cut off about 1/4 of them just to make them a little bit shorter for this project. So then I'm just going to take my cookies and pour out some of my icing onto them, and the flatter cookies are probably better for this because these had a little bit of a curvature to them, so they dripped off a little bit, but that's okay. This is going to be little melted snowmen, so the messier the better, the little puddle is better. So I'm going to take my marshmallow while that icing is still wet and pop it onto one side and then just kind of get that all mushed all over the place. Now I should have made the faces on my snowmen before I put the marshmallows in, but then I did do it the other way and it didn't seem to make as much of a difference as I thought it might. I thought it would be easier, but when I've already got the marshmallows onto the cookies, it was a little bit easier to hold them. So whichever way is easiest for you. And I'm just going to make 2 eyes and a mouth and then a little carrot nose and then his little buttons down the middle. Now, it's a little bit hard to work with this icing, for me anyway, but the snowman's melting, so they don't have to be perfect because his little eyes and everything's all melting, you know. That's what I thought. That was what I was going with. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So once I get them all done and they're all dried, I'm going to put them on a 3-tiered plate. And I first put down some shredded coconut onto my dishes so that it looked like they're sitting in snow. and then just placed my cookies onto that tiered tray. And this I got a long time ago, but I think it's from Walmart. I think I got it actually as a gift, which is really sad that I don't remember. But anyway, I know that I had one and my sister has one and my daughter has one. So it must have been a present from my mom for all of us, but I don't know. Anyway, here they are all finished, but I think, again, super, super easy, no baking involved. And I think they are adorable. I love how these turned out, and I hope you guys like them too. For this next one, I'm going to be using these medium-sized cupcakes. They're just a little bit smaller than the regular big ones. Some mini marshmallows, and then from Dollar Tree, I have these mini candy canes. And then also from Dollar Tree, I have kind of a collection of the paper straws that you can get in all kinds of fun patterns and designs. So this is super easy again. And, you know, remember always that if you decide to bake your own cupcakes, that's even better. This is just a really quick way to do it without having to go through all that. But if you love baking, definitely you want to do that. So I'm just going to take this candy cane. I'm going to poke it into the top of my cupcake with the curved side and let that hang down and kind of go into the side to make it look like a little cocoa mug. And then I'm going to take my mini marshmallows and pop those into the frosting so that they stay snug as a bug in a rug on all of my cupcakes. Now these already have sprinkles all over them, so I just use that, but you can always add more. And if they are homemade, you can, you know, put as much or as little as you want on there. And then I'm going to take my paper straws. I decided to use the red and white striped ones. I'm going to cut those into thirds and then pop that also into the frosting and into the cupcake itself to make it like a little straw. And actually where I placed them, it kind of looks like a little teapot too. So whatever you want to do. Now, if you don't have these paper straws, you can also use the bottom or the straight part of the candy canes and just pop that in there as well. And then to give it even more cuteness, I'm going to take my white icing and just squeeze that out on top so that it looks like some sort of drizzle like you would have on a cup of hot cocoa. Now, they didn't have any cupcakes with the white frosting on there. All they had was the blue, but I was okay with that. I thought it was super sweet and cute, and you can do whatever colors you want. But if you did have the white frosting, that would look more like whipped cream that you would have on your hot chocolate. But we can make it however we want, and I think this is even cuter with the blue. But here it is on my tiered tray, and I think this is so adorable, and the kids absolutely love these. Now for this next one, we're going to be using the mini little cupcakes, and then I'm also going to be using some strawberries, and then we'll use a box of Skittles. I'm just going to be taking out the red ones, and yes, a few of these went into my mouth as well. Not the red ones though, because there was just enough for this little project. So anyway, we're going to take the strawberries, get those all washed up, and then Michael J's cutting off the tops. And while he was doing that, he found this.
Check that one out.
Oh, it's love. Aww.
Check it out.
Oh, I can't see you. I don't know why you do that.
I can't.
Well, do you see yourself on there? He is always making funny faces and jokes and does all this stuff, and we're not even seeing him. Anyway, so I'm going to pull out 12 strawberries that are about the right size, and then I was going to take some of the confetti off, but then I decided since these are for Christmas, I might as well leave them on. But what I'm going to do is take some of that frosting off of the top and pull it towards the side onto the paper of the cupcake. Now you could take the wrappers off of these and just have the cupcake exposed, and then pull the frosting over like I'm doing here. But we're just going to be making this into kind of like a triangle, and I'm making gnomes. So it's the little gnome beard. So whatever shape you think that should be, go ahead and do that. And I did all of the white ones first and then did the chocolate ones so that it didn't bleed over. So now I'm going to take my strawberries and pop it right on top, push it down into that frosting so that it stays in place. And then I'll put a little Skittle right there for his nose, and now we have a little gnome. This is so cute, and it was just so easy and super fun to do because I didn't have to bake anything. And then just to give it a little bit more cuteness, I'm going to take my icing and put a little dot right at the top so that it kind of looks like a Santa gnome. And then to display these, I'm going to use this Dollar Tree cake plate that I made a long time ago. And I'm just going to place them on that and another red one that you've seen me use before. But look how adorable these little guys are. You want to make sure that before you put that icing on top of their hats that it is dry, the strawberries dry, so that it doesn't slide down. But I think they're so adorable. I love them, and I hope you guys like them too. Now for this one, we're going to be using some Oreo cookies and some Reese's mini peanut butter cups. And then I have these little milk crafts. I don't know why that's what they're called, but they're the little chocolate or whatever color you want, the little melties. This is still a no bake because we're just using the microwave. And then we're also going to be using some sprinkles if you want this. Michael J just put these in the microwave, and I don't even really know how much time it was because you just wait till they get melted and you stir it around. And he did have to put it on a lower setting on the microwave, but just read the package. So this is going to get super messy. So I put some paper towels down and then a little rack, and you can see here where he's mixing it up, and we'll add a little bit more so that it's a bit deeper. We weren't sure how much it was going to make when we put those in there. So I'm going to take a little toothpick and put it inside the cream of my Oreo, and then I'm going to dip it into my melted chocolate. Now, I had to use my little rubber spatula to get the sides, and then you just want to let it kind of drip off, and it'll become smooth once that drips off and it kind of settles. Now, I added some sprinkles to the first one, and it was super cute, but it looked more like birthday than Christmas, so I'm going to be more intentional with the sprinkles that I put on there. So I'm going to dip all of these and get them covered. I decided to start only doing one side of the cookie, and then the back side won't be as messy, but you can just do whatever you want. And then on this one, I'm going to take just the white little balls and put them on there, and then I took some gold stars, tried to make it go in a row, and then I'm going to take some of that white icing and just add some pretties. I was just playing with it and doing whatever you want, but I think this would be a really fun activity to do with the kids. And then you can see on a few of those, I'm going to take my cookie and just dip it into that melted stuff. And then I'm going to take my icing and make little beards, a white beard, and then a little dot so it looks like a Santa hat, and then, some little white fuzzies at the end. I think these are so adorable, and I'm not really good here. I thought I would be better at this, but it wasn't an episode of Nailed It quite, but it was not as great, but I think they still look adorable. And then I'm going to take my little mini peanut butter cup and poke that onto those toothpicks so that it looks like an ornament. And again, my grandkids, well, they think everything I do is amazing. So they're the exact opposite of tough crowd. They love these, and they were super good. I mean, they're sweets, so you can't go wrong. But I love how these turned out, and I hope you guys like them too. So we're going to do a little bit more baking. I'm going to take these cinnamon rolls, and I am always so scared to open these because of that pop. So I usually have Michael J do it. He just crushes it and it pops right open. But I'm so glad he's around. But I'm just going to take these skewer dowels and poke them into these muffins. And these always bring back such awesome memories from my childhood. We used to have these almost, not every night, but you know, my mom always had a dessert with our dinner. And cinnamon rolls, I was always excited to have these, especially because of that frosting that comes with it. So I'm just going to put these onto a cookie sheet, and we first sprayed it so that they wouldn't stick. And he had something else in the oven. He was making something else. But we're just going to put those at 375 for however long it says on the package. I think it's 15 to 18 minutes. Those are all ready to roll. Now it's time to put on that frosting. So I'm just going to smush that all over, and they give you just enough to cover these, not even really super generously, but you know, it melts on there and it smells so good. I love these so much. So this was actually, I think, maybe one of my favorites because it was just, I don't know, I just love these. Anyway, I'm going to smush those on there, and then I'm going to take my white icing again and just do some crisscrosses to make them look like little snowflakes. And you know, you can, again, this one I can do kind of straight lines, but that's about as far as it goes. So not a lot of artistic, you know, skill required on this one. And then once I get my snowflakes onto that, and it becomes a snowflake because they kind of, you know, melt in the corners where they come together. You can see it here. But then I'm going to take these little gold stars that came in the sprinkles and just pop those right into the middle. And then I'm going to place them on a long cutting board just to make them look a little more fancy. And then I took my powdered sugar and sifted that all across those. And then I also ended up adding a little bit of ribbon from the Dollar Tree and just tied those in a knot, not a knot, but just one, you know, half of a knot, and then put those on top of here. And I think these are so pretty, and you can just not go wrong with cinnamon rolls. And the baking is at a minimum, but I think they're super, super cute. Okay, so this is our very last one, and this is definitely my favorite of the sweet treats. So I'm going to take some more of that puff pastry. Again, you're going to want to let this thaw out so that it's nice and pliable. I'm going to make it a little bit larger using my rolling pin and a little bit thinner. And then I'm going to take some Nutella, and using my rubber spatula, I'm going to get that all over that bottom part of the pastry. And I have to tell you too, that rolling pin was my mother-in-law's. She gave that to me, and it was actually her grandmother's. So that's a very special rolling pin. And then I'm going to take that top layer, again, doing the same thing that we did for our savory dish earlier. I'm going to push it over to the side so that it fits on top of the bottom one and everything is nice and covered up. So now I'm going to take the star cup. I've used this already, but this was done before we did the other ones. But anyway, I'm going to take my Dollar Tree star cookie cutter and start cutting out little stars from my dough. I'm going to turn this into a wreath. So if you want to make a larger wreath, you can just do 2 sets of these and make a whole bunch more stars, or double the stars, and it'll be double the size that you're going to see that I've made at the end here. But I think this is a pretty good size. And anyway, so I wish I would have also thought of using the excess dough and just made little balls with that, because then I wouldn't have had to throw that all away. Anyway, I'm going to just start placing these in a circle and overlapping them each so that the stars will kind of connect to each other. And then again, we're going to cover up everything with some melted butter. And I'm just using my little brush to get that on there. And then according to the package, just like we did before, I've already forgotten, we're going to bake it for that long. Now, I had the parchment paper under it, and I started to rip it around, and I was just going to leave it on, but I didn't like it. So I just had Michael J pull it while I held the ring in place. And then everything looks always so much better with your powdered sugar sprinkled over everything. It's just like fairy dust covered all over it for winter at the Christmas season. So I'm just going to cover that all up. And then I was going to use mint, but our store didn't have any fresh mint. So I'm just using basil here. That probably wouldn't be so good with this sweet treat. But then I put 3 raspberries right in the middle so that it kind of looks like a little bit of holly garnish. And here it is all finished, and I think this one is just so stunning. I went through all of the Pinterest ideas and took out the easiest ones I could find, the ones that I thought I could do, and I think they all turned out amazing. And I say that because I am not an amazing baker. So I really wanted to show you that even if you don't have a lot of time, because it is a hectic time of year, you can still do these and wow people with how they turn out, just showing that you're putting some thought and love into everything that you make. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to give this a thumbs up, comment, let me know what you think. If you're not already, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button down below, as well as the little bell right next to it so that you can be notified every time I upload a brand new video. Don't forget the real reason for the season. I hope everyone has a blessed day, and remember to always be the light. Bye!